aggravated, this whole aspect of sadness. So this is something which is not just a concept. This is not a theory. For many of us, this is very deep. This is practical. This is something that you are going through right now. So I don't want to undermine this topic. I don't want to look at this as if this is something that is alien to us. That's something that happens occasionally. But for many of us, it could be a way of life, or in many parts of our days, we experience what we call as this sadness. And ours is a culture. Globally, this is true, but more so in India, we have this culture of not expressing anything that is not positive. We have this taboo mentality that we don't want to talk about these, and we want to hide it to ourselves. But it is really nice that in a time like this, that we have this opportunity to come together and talk about this very, very needed topic. Some of you might be able to relate to these words of Cynthia Erivo, who sings it so powerfully, which is anything worth holding on to. It goes like this. Lately, it seems I've lost inspiration. It feels like it's miles away. I sleep through the day and cry through the night time. I'm caught in an empty space. Takes effort to fight. I don't have the strength. I'm holding on to what's still left of me. When the life you had planned slowly slips through your hands, when it feels like you just slept through all the best years of your life, when you can't find your way, when each day ends the same, when you've lost the fight inside of you, is there anything worth holding on to? It's hard to be strong when weakness is stronger. I'm a prisoner in my own skin. I'm not good on my own. I need to be cared for. Someone to help these days begin. There are dreams I've let die that I just pushed aside. I need to find out how to turn this dark back into light. When the warmth disappears, when it's been one of those years, when you're running from the truth because you're scared what you might find, when your heart's beyond repair, when you wake up and no one's there, when your home consists of only you, is there anything worth holding on to? Maybe tomorrow my heart will reawaken and I can find what I've been searching for. But today I'm tired. I'm running out of strength. All I know is I can't live this way anymore. When you're so far from home, when you've lost all signs of hope, when you're searching for salvation, but it feels so far away, when the words have disappeared, when there is nothing more left inside of you, is there anything worth holding on to? Because I'll still be holding on to everything worth holding on to. This is that kind of an emotion which literally is paralyzing. It is that heaviness in our heart which simply doesn't go away. No matter how much we try to smother it, how much we try to suppress it, how much we try to do away with it by escapism, that haunting feeling of that heaviness keeps sometimes coming back to us. And that is what we want to try and think about and see how is it that we can get a better understanding of it and what we can do to try and overcome this sadness. Firstly, I want to start by explaining what is sadness, which also gives me an opportunity to scope my talk, which is what I'll be focusing more on what I will not be focusing on. I'll be primarily dealing on sadness. Now, what is sadness? Sadness is basically a very basic and a normal emotion. It is supposed to be one of the basic 5 emotions, which along with sadness is happiness, sadness, fear, anxiety, and guilt. Happiness, sadness, fear, anxiety, guilt. These are supposed to be the basic human emotions that we go through. And it is a very normal emotion, just like the way we feel fear, just like the way we feel happiness. This is a normal emotion when we talk about sadness in particular. It is at a high level, without going into the going into the depths of it. At a high level, if you were to understand it, sadness is caused by unachieved goals. Now, quite a few of you said that what makes you sad, in this word cloud that you created, you said high expectations, right? We set those high expectations for us, not just we ourselves, others have high expectations on us. And when we don't get it, we are sad. So at a high level, it's caused by unachieved goals. So when we achieve goals, we become happy. And when we don't achieve the goals, we become sad. Now, if you were to go one level deeper, then there is this, goals that are undermined. It costs us anger or resentment, right? Goals that are undermined it causes us anger or resentment. Goals that are uncertain causes it causes us or it causes anxiety and fear. And goals that are unreachable, it causes guilt, right? Undermined goals creates anger, uncertain goals creates anxiety, unreachable goals cause guilt. Let me quickly give you an example for us to understand this, and I'll tell you why I'm going through this. Imagine my daughter. I have a, as Danny introduced, I have a 3 and 3/4 year old girl, little girl, and imagine I tell her, you know what, I'm going to get you an ice cream if you were to complete whatever task we ask for her. What are the biggest challenges? Make her room neat. If you say keep all your toys back, daddy will get you ice cream. Now you can put this example for anything. Maybe you're promising your girlfriend or your boyfriend, before the end of the night I'm going to get you ice cream, whatever it is, right? You promise someone you're going to get them ice cream. And then I remember that close to about 10 o'clock in the night, that I promised her ice cream. And she's also reminding me, Daddy, you promised me ice cream. Where's my ice cream? So I immediately get into my bike and I'm heading towards the ice cream parlor. But I know I'm going to be about to get late. So I called this ice cream parlor guy and said, I'm on my way. I'll be there in about 5 minutes. Can you please keep the shop open? I want to get some ice cream. And he says, yes, I can keep it open. And then I go and find he's already pulled down his shutters and he is very casually saying, sorry, sir, billing is closed. We've closed it. Now I feel that my goals have been undermined and I actually become angry. And why I'm angry? Because all that I said has been undermined. The deeper emotion is sadness. All right. Switch the example. I'm calling him and I'm saying, I'm on my way. I should be there in about 10 minutes. Please keep your ice cream stall open. Sir, we can't extend it any longer, but exactly 10 minutes we'll keep it open. But if you reach there, we'll give you your ice cream. And imagine I'm headed towards a place and there's so much of traffic and it's almost touch and go. I don't know if I'll exactly reach there in 10 minutes. There's huge traffic. And now my goal has become extremely uncertain. And there's so much of anxiety and fear that I have. If you were there in last week's session, Dr. Jamila Koshi pretty much spent her entire talk on that, on anxiety, right? It is about that uncertain goals where we end up overthinking, will I get it? Will I not get it? And all those things happen to me. And within that is also a part of sadness. Oh, why did I not remember a little earlier? I made that promise. Why did I not plan my day a little earlier? All those emotions go through, and that sadness is clubbed with anxiety or fear. And then there is this unreachable goal. I reach the ice cream parlor. I find that the ice cream parlor is closed. I go around in every direction possible to search for one ice cream parlor or any shop that will sell some semblance of ice cream so I can pick it and give it to my daughter, and find that just about every shop is closed. And I know for a fact I'll have to come back and cut a sorry figure in front of my daughter. It's just become an unreachable goal. I'm feeling guilt about it. I've made a promise. I've let down my daughter. Now that is guilt, and deeper within is that sadness. You with me? So when we are not able to achieve goals, it is sadness. When we achieve goals, it's happiness. That basic, but it is also very closely tied with anxiety, with resentment and anger, and with guilt. It is that which I want to talk about, which is what we saw in the previous song as well. That feeling of, is there anything that I can hold on to? Now, there is another party to it, which is what is called as depression. Depression is the existence of three things together, which is helplessness, hopelessness, and worthless. The feeling of worthless, the feeling of hopelessness, and the feeling of helplessness. Right? Imagine I feel like there is absolutely nothing worthy about me. There is a worthlessness, and I don't have any hope for the future. And then I feel that the whole world is going in a particular direction, and it is just totally helpless. Now that existence of all these triad, all three together exist, that existence is called depression. And it happens at a very high intensity, and it stays for a long duration. And when I talk about high intensity, again, for those of you who came last week, you'll remember Dr. Jamila Koshi spoke about something called magnifying, right? Now that is that. Now thinking that the world will come to a halt. That level of magnifying is that high intensity. Long duration psychologists usually place it that any kind of that feeling that keeps lingering for more than 2 weeks, that is depression. So let me just take that same example of me promising my daughter ice cream. And then I have come back home without having got it, right? I called up a guy. He said he'll keep it open. He did not keep his word. Finally, I searched everywhere. I didn't get ice cream at all. And then I start feeling, as a dad, I could not even get an ice cream for my daughter. What am I worth of? What am I worthy of? Right? And I'm starting to feel that way. And then I'm starting to think, not just I'm not good at doing my work. I'm not good at being a good husband. I'm just feeling just magnifying and thinking I'm just a scum. I can't just do anything. I'm just totally worth it. I mean, totally worthless. And then to think about that feeling of hopelessness. What am I going to achieve? I mean, like, my daughter will always hold a grudge for it. I mean, she'll never forgive me. Is there any hope of me being a good father for her? There's just no hope for the future. I mean, she's going to hold a grudge on this and just magnifying that. And then to think about what is this world really? I just called up a guy and asked him to keep an ice cream shop open. He promised me he couldn't even keep it open. I mean, I can just not trust anybody, not just this guy. I can't trust my boss. I can't trust my wife. I can't trust my child. Just this whole world is pretty sad. And it is a helpless world I'm living in. You get it? That expanding and magnifying that intensity of whatever the cost could be, and just expanding it. I've just taken a very simple example. Likewise, it could be several things. It could be a bad performance review someone gave you, or it is a loss of someone. And then this existence of this three thing, the hopelessness, the worthlessness, and the helplessness coming together. And then you're just magnifying it beyond the, there is this cause and effect. What cost it and what is the effect? Beyond the cause, if that effect is just magnified it, and the duration of it is much longer, psychologists at a very high level, there is a lot of details into it, but then at a very high level, psychologists would place it as clinical depression. Now, as Danny said, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. So I won't be delving in a lot on that. But of course, if you want support on that, reach out to Lighthouse in the poster number that you have. Please reach out to them. They will be able to place you with some of the, the best people who could help you. I'm going to be really focusing on sadness. Okay. I want to talk about, some of the causes of, or some of the traits of sadness, right? Again, as I said, causes of sadness could be many. Loss of loved one, you got bad review with your boss or someone, or, someone promised you something, they did not keep up their word. Just a feeling of having, or probably losing a job, or the fear of losing job, financial stress. There are so many of these that could cause sadness. But if you were to look at where it all starts from, it would be that inability, or that lack of goal achievement. That's where it'll narrow down to. So what are some of the traits of sadness that happens? When you are sad, what really happens? So that is something that I want to spend some time on. One of the first things that happens, and a lot of us will be able to relate to, is called ruminating, or it's called the brooding issue. My boss calls me and says that he's pretty disappointed with my performance, or my wife calls me and says, not calls me, just walks up to me and says that she can't trust me anymore because what I promised her, I didn't do it. Whatever it is, it causes me sadness, and I keep ruminating it over and over and over and over and over again, right? Just doing it over and over. That is ruminating. It really doesn't give you any more insights, but still we just cannot seem to come out of that. It's almost like a compulsive thinking on it. We keep thinking about it over and over. That's one of the traits of sadness. Another trait of sadness is that victim mentality. We see that, nothing good happens to me. I mean, everything goes wrong only with me. I mean, look at people around. They don't seem to be going through this. It's only me. And that feeling that, I don't come from that kind of a background, so everything will go wrong. Well, that's the way I was brought up. My parents didn't bring me up well. We belong to this part of the world. We have this color skin, and that's why we are being treated like that. Kind of starting to look at yourself as a victim of this whole situation. And that could be one of the traits of sadness. Another thing could be that feeling of loss of control over the direction of your life. I mean, like, I don't seem to be having control over my life. It is just going, and it's just going freely. I don't seem to be having any kind of a grip over it. Loss of interest in anything, also called as apathy. nothing interests me. Friends call you and talk to you and talk about possibility organizing a Zoom call with all your old schoolmates. No, not interested. Parents call you and talk to you about something. You're not interested. Nothing seems to interest you. Now that it could also be a trait of sadness, loss of appetite. Many of us will be able to relate to it. And again, cognitive distortions. Again, last week, this was dealt in deeper. Last week, if you're not there, I think that session was recorded. You might want to get a copy of it. You'll get a lot of it. Some of them were personalizing anything that goes wrong. Personalizing that situation, one of the cognitive distortions. Blaming others and blaming the situation, one of the cognitive distortions. Should have mentality. Again, that was spoken about. I should have done that. I should have been a little more. Always kind of having that should have mentality. These are all some of the traits of sadness that we have when we go through it. Now, I want to come to the crux of this whole thing. I want to talk about now, how do we really overcome sadness, right? One of the first thing that I would say is, not necessarily in this order. One of the first thing that I would say is, when you having this sadness, that heaviness that is there, one of the first thing that you can do is to just get up and start doing something, because that feeling of helplessness and ruminating and feeling victims is really not, it's not going to help you. Very critically, it actually gives you that paralyzed feeling. It just makes you feel stuck. It doesn't even sometimes make you get up from your bed or get up from your couch where you're just lying out. Sometimes it's as simple as just getting up and doing something, anything, reading, praying, studying, cooking, doing whatever that you want, something that constructive. Could be very helpful. Just get up and start doing something constructive could be a way of immediately making that shift, instead of just going through that rumination, some of those victim mentality. That could be healthy, and that could be helpful. The second thing is develop healthy habits. Quite a lot of people who go through a lot of sadness, even people who are going through depression, one of the first things that you'll find is they have lost their structure in their day. They'll probably be sleeping really late in the night, and then waking up at odd hours, eating less, almost stopping to exercise. So one of the things that you can do, people who lose jobs, they say, I've always, people who retired even, they say that, like all these years I've had a 9 to 5 job, or I've been working this, suddenly I've been fired, or I've been retired. What do I do with my life? I'm still active. My mind and my body is active, but I just do not know what to do. And they find that they kind of completely lost the structure they've had for the day. And that again makes them feel sad, because the way they've been just allowing life to go the way it is. And you would have seen that from the song by Cynthia Eriva. It talks about that, right? Sleeping late again causes that feeling of you not being in control of the day. So one of the things that you can do is just bring in structure in your day. I'll sleep at this time, I'll wake up at this time, I'll eat, I'll exercise. Also get into some healthy ways in which you can spend your time. It could be photography, it could be blogging, it could be writing and talking to them meaningfully. It could be going and supporting in an NGO, volunteering yourself. It could be about teaching some online classes for someone. There is just opportunities, just aplenty. If you're really wanting to do something meaningful, and if you want to structure your day, there's so many opportunities that we can get into. So develop some of those healthy habits. The next thing that I would say is develop healthy thoughts. Your thought life is extremely important. One of the things that happens is, when we go through sad situations, we need to realize there is something called a circle of control, that innermost circle, which is something that is completely within your control, right? Your thoughts, your words, right? Your decisions, the way you are leading your life with some ethics and values, pretty much within your control. And there are certain things which are completely outside your control. I don't think any of us here determined who would win US elections. I don't think any of us is going to determine if Arnab Goswami would be in jail longer or going to be outside the jail longer. But those are things which are completely outside the control. The weather, the outcome of the IPL, who is going to win, the media, what topics they discuss, and how is that going to happen, economics, traffic in the city, flooding that can potentially happen in Chennai or in any part of the world, death of loved ones, right? The color of the skin that you have. You get it, right? Those are things which are completely outside your control. right? So innermost circle, what is within your control, the outermost circle, things are only your concern, it's completely out of your control. And then there is this circle in between wherein you have a certain amount of influence to try to change that behavior. Either you can bring it completely into your control or it can go outside your control, but that you can only influence things like your reputation, whether you get promoted in your job or not, whether you stick to your job or not. Things like whether people like you, to some extent your children's future, where do you work. So you get it, right? So those are some of the things which you can try to some extent influence, but again, that's not completely in your control. What is critical is when you are feeling sad, to think about, now what of this is really within my control and what is outside my control. How much of control do I have and how much is completely outside my control. And it doesn't make sense for you to keep ruminating about what is completely outside your control. What you can really take charge of is what is within your control. That is something which is very, very important for us to do. There is really nothing that we can do about what is not within our control. The other thing on acceptance is accept who you are. A lot of times people just look at a glossy magazine cover where a celebrity is there flashing a brilliant smile, the masking of the smile that we speak about in this topic. They have a brilliant smile, and immediately our tendency is, wow, life is just fabulous for this person, right? This celebrity is just amazing. I mean, like, she's always smiling, he is always very cheerful, but life is not like that for me. Not just celebrities, we can relate to some friends we have or people on the street that we look. I mean, these people are all cheerful, these people are all happy, why isn't life like that for me? And we start always comparing ourselves with others. I mean, recently you would have seen people like Deepika Padukone and, Ira Khan, Amir Khan's daughter. So many people have come up openly and said, hey, you know what, we're all struggling with depression as well. So what we can sometimes see on the outside by just looking at people's smile, we can't start comparing our lives with them and assume that they're all fabulous. Another part of their acceptance is accept your life as it is. You can't live someone else's life. So this is your life, this is the way you are. You might not have a plastic grin all through your, wherever, whenever you are, and you might not have a most cheerful, pleasing personality, but whatever you have, just accept yourself as you are. Don't start to mimic and start comparing yourself with someone else. The next thing is gratitude. That ability to intentionally go and thank for things that you actually have. I'm reminded of a story of a person who is known to us, who just came back from being robbed in the Chennai bus. He was coming in the bus. His wallet was robbed. He came back home and told his wife, "I'm grateful to God for three things. One, last week I had 3,000 rupees. Today I only had 300 rupees. My wallet was only robbed. I did not go through any personal injury. Third, I was robbed. I was not the robber." Now just think about it. Even in a situation, if someone can be grateful for, I think it is just possible, but it doesn't come natural. The natural thing is to worry, but if you were to consciously make an effort, there is so much to be gratitude for. There is an old adage which says that even a stop that does not work shows the right time twice a day. Think about it. So there is always an opportunity for us to be to express gratitude, to be grateful for. We just need to be consciously doing that. The next thing that I would say on healthy thoughts is avoid sources of negativity. If you're feeling sad, I can tell you what can really make you feel depressed. Go turn on to news and watch a debate. Go to Twitter and follow some of those toxic comments that are happening, right? Go to social media and make one provocative statement, or just follow some of those people who make their life making provocative statements. And then this barrage of comments and it's just, you get it, right? It's just such a source of negativity. Avoid negativity. If you want to follow news, better buy a newspaper and read it rather than to follow debates and those kind of a thing. And then I would say be purposeful. Wherever you are and whatever you do it intentionally and purposefully. If you're a housewife, be a purposeful housewife. If you're bringing up children, do it purposefully. If you're working in a company, do it purposefully. And if you've lost your job, even so, Find out what is it that you can do to turn around. Some of the best things have happened when people were almost idle. Mahatma Gandhi wrote My Experiments with Truth in a prison. There is an extremely famous book called Pilgrim's Progress, which was written by a guy called John Bunyan, and he wrote it when he was in prison. It can look like there is nothing that can be done, and they turned it into a purposeful situation. So just think about what is it that I can do with my life, and think about how you can make it purposeful. And lastly, I can't in any way undermine this. This is an extremely important step. Reach out for support system. And when you reach out for support system, reach out to people who have the time and that interest to be able to help you. Again, if you don't have anyone, if you think about, now I'm in this huge burden of that heaviness that I feel, but there is really no one that I can reach out to. Again, reach out to the number that you will see in Lighthouse brochure, or the person who invited you, or the number that you saw in the Lighthouse brochure. They'll either connect you to someone, or they themselves will be available, talk to you and give you that kind of a support system. All right. Okay. I want to end with this, that everything is not sad and bad, just because we go through some sadness. Everything is not terrible. All right. There are some bright sides to sadness. And I'm not talking about depression, as I made it clear. If we're going through the patches of sadness, there are some bright sides of gloom as well. What it does is, when we go through sadness, it builds empathy and compassion. Only when I go through some sadness, I know what it means for someone else to go through that, and I'm empathetic and compassionate. It makes restoration of relationships possible. I know that I've hurt someone, I feel bad about it, I feel sad about my behavior, I want to make amends, I want to go and set right that relationship. It is one of those emotions that really makes restoration of relationship possible. Someone said, there are nutrients in the fruits of sadness and suffering, which only sadness and suffering gives. Can I repeat? There are nutrients in the fruit of sadness and suffering that only is found in that fruit of sadness and suffering. Example, humility. I become humble knowing that I am not a Superman all by myself. It gives me courage. It gives me resilience. It gives me that wanting to try again. All of these just reveals to me that there is a purpose for my life. There are goals that I need to achieve. And when I don't get it, I feel sad, which means I've been created for a purpose, and sadness is just a revealer that my life is of purpose. And that is why we want to try again. That is why we want to be noble. That's why we want to aim for these, these values of empathy, compassion, humility, etc. All those reveals that life has got a larger purpose. And when I don't seem to be achieving that I go through sadness.